Part 17. Dimensional Chosen, Only I Know Saitama is the Strongest. Author, Mungbean Garden. Chapter 161. Following this soft shout, the ninjas of Yuyan village who were patrolling the entrance of the village gathered around one after another. Are you from Yuyan village? Show me your ID. The leader gave an order with an unquestionable tone. Hold on. Fang Ye lowered his voice and said softly. Then he put a hand into his arms and started groping. Of course, he did not have the status of a ninja in Yuyan village. All of this was just to fool them. Hurry up. Seeing Fang Ye digging in his arms for a long time, unable to find out why, the leader became a little anxious. The ninja standing behind him did not step forward. He stretched out his hand to pull Fang Ye's mask and take a closer look. When that person's palm was about to touch him, the Overlord's domineering energy was activated. Fang Ye no longer restrained the Overlord's domineering energy, and released it all at once. Not only the person who was close to Fang Ye, but the others were also affected. Their brains with a boom, the whole person staggered and fell asleep. Their mouths were opened wide, as if they had seen something terrible. The person at the head seemed to be of reasonable strength. Under Fang Ye's sudden impact, he could still save a trace of he was awake and reaching for his waist with trembling hands. He wanted to tell the news. You think too much. Fang Ye stepped forward and stepped on his chest. Click. The sound of bone cracking sounded, and the man's chest collapsed completely. It was very scary. Puff. Spitting blood, the man's eyes widened and his head tilted to one side. He refused to rest in silence. Fang Ye didn't let go of the other people. Each of them kicked them and sent them all to the west. If there is a west in the world of Naruto. Fang Ye dragged the bodies of several people to the grass side, and then changed into the leader's clothes. That man was also 1.89 meters tall and slightly obese. It's quite suitable for Fang Ye to wear. After tidying up, Fang Ye walks slowly towards the village. He wears a mask on his face, so he is not afraid of being targeted as a strange face. Along the way, Fang Ye walked under the eaves of the house, trying to avoid getting wet by the rain. The rain in Yuyan village is actually Pain's technique. Pain can know everything and everything that happens in the village through the rain, and the entire village cannot escape his eyes. This is how Jiraiya was discovered. That's why in the subsequent battle, Jiraiya was very passive. In addition, the opponent's information was not comprehensive enough, so he died in Yuyan village. Fang Ye's figure walked quickly through Yuyan village, looking for that familiar storefront. Hey, this is... Fang Ye stopped and looked at the tavern in front of him, lost in thought. Jiraiya should be looking for information here, so go in and take a look. Fang Ye stepped in and a group of scantily clad women surrounded him. Guest officer. Fang Ye leaned on the sofa with his arms and legs spread out. A woman wearing a black and white spotted dress next to her reached out and poured Fang Ye a glass of wine. I heard that customers specifically mentioned my name, it must be because I am very attractive. Fang Ye nodded. Well, Ms. Tetsuna looks a lot like a friend of mine. Is it? Tetsuna became interested, approached Fang Ye and said with a smile. A guest officer just now said the same thing, is this how you guys strike up a conversation? Oh? Has anyone else said that? Fang Ye looked curious and already had the answer in his heart. Tetsuna nodded and said. That man looks much older than you, with white hair, but his appearance is slightly better. Fang Ye nodded slightly, and then pretended to think. I have an impression that it was a friend of mine. When did he leave? Just now. After saying that, Tetsuna put his hands on his hips. The guest left without saying a word, showing no courtesy at all. Really, haha. Fang Ye stood up with a smile, got up and walked outside. What do you do, guest? Tetsuna asked curiously. I suddenly remembered something. Ms. Tizuna will come to see you next time. As he said that, Fang Ye took out a few coins from his pocket, with 4 stripes engraved on them. These were found in the pockets of the ninjas he killed. Thank you, sir. Tizuna laughed so hard that her branches trembled, and she bowed deeply to Fang Ye. See you later, Miss Tizuna. Fang Ye waved his hand and left with a smile. When he walked out of the tavern, Fang Ye put away the smile on his face. Jiraiya had already left, which meant that he might have been torturing Tizuna's husband. Fang Ye stood at the door of the tavern, hesitated and decided to turn left. In his memory, Jiraiya walked in this direction. Sure enough, not long after leaving, Fang Ye saw a strange-looking building. The appearance looks very symmetrical. It is a newly opened tavern. There was a sign at the door that read Toad Club. It looks like there are also new activities opening. Fang Ye smiled slightly and walked in. As soon as he opened the door, there were already 2 ninjas sitting by the bar. They were dressed as people from Yuyan village. When they heard the sound at the door, they subconsciously glanced back. Seeing Fang Ye turned around and continued chatting. Normally, it doesn't rain only on Sundays. Why is today so special? It rained suddenly. The young ninja was very resentful and was about to continue complaining. The middle-aged ninja on the side subconsciously stopped him. If you say something, it will lead to death. With that said, the 2 of them lowered their heads and started drinking. Inside the bar, Jiraiya, who was dressed in casual clothes, saw that there was no information to be obtained, rubbed his hands, and started to act. The 3 guests are very lucky. Today we have a special treat to commemorate the opening. Nani, is it true? The young ninja was very excited. Even the middle-aged ninja and his husband's husband looked excited and asked curiously. What kind of hospitality is it? Fang Ye sat aside, smiling and saying nothing. Jiraiya ignored him and said slowly with a smile. Toad Club special. Torture and treat. As he spoke, Jiraiya made a seal. With a bang, his disguise was instantly lifted, revealing his true face. The huge forehead protector with the word oil on his forehead was a powerful sign that he was not a ninja of a Megakure village. Seeing Jiraiya cancel his transformation, the 2 of them instantly realized that something was wrong. We're ambushed, run away. The chairs under them were knocked over and they retreated quickly. If we walk through the door, he won't be able to catch up with us. The young ninja said, taking out the smoke bomb from his pocket and slamming it to the ground. Bang! The whole room was instantly filled with smoke, and the line of sight was heavily obstructed. Run! The young ninja said, his hand already on the door handle, pulling hard. Hateful, why can't it be pulled open? Get out of that door! Tizuna's husband yelled and signaled to the young ninja. But his hand was entangled in the transformed door, and no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't pull it out. Hateful! Tizuna's husband yelled and was also tangled on the wall. Jiraiya looked at Fang Ye who was sitting on the side and rubbed his palms. Do you stick it to the wall yourself, or do you want me to help you? Fang Ye smiled softly, took off his mask and the forehead protector of the Omegakure ninja, and said with a smile. Jiraiya-sensei, it would be too outrageous to say that. Dimensional chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mung Garden. Chapter 162. Oh. Jiraiya stopped approaching and looked at Fang Ye cautiously. Fang Ye slowly took out his forehead protector with a leaf symbol printed on it from his pocket. It was the symbol of Konoha ninja. Are you from Konoha too? Jiraiya looked at Fang Ye, trying to see any flaws. But Fang Ye was very confident and stood so calmly. He was not afraid of slanted shadows. Anyway, his current identity is Konoha ninja. Maybe Konoha there is still his file in the hidden village. After looking at it for a long time, Jiraiya couldn't see any flaws and asked aloud. Who sent you here? Of course it's Tsunade-sama. Fang. Ya said calmly, and then asked. Could it be Miss Tizuna? You. Jiraiya blushed a little, but he quickly suppressed it with his chakra. Then he looked at Fang Ye calmly again. This mission is very dangerous. Why did Tsunade send you? And, why haven't I seen you? I'm an Umbu guy. Fang Ye waved his hand and turned away the topic. How to deal with these two people? He pointed at the two people still struggling on the wall and asked curiously. Them. Jiraiya smiled and made a seal on his hand. The next second, the newly built toad club shrank in an instant. Finally, it turned into a navy blue toad and jumped into the water. At the same time, the rain outside also stopped. Konan, go find Jiraiya-sensei. Yahiko, who had transformed into Pain Tendo, gave the order. Konan, who was standing behind him, nodded and started to act. The next second, Konan's body began to change, and his whole body was divided into a large number of origami, and flew out. In the toad's belly, Jiraiya began to interrogate the two of them. No matter what you ask, I won't tell you. Tizuna's husband yelled ferociously, his eyes full of fear. If he didn't say anything, he might die. But if he did, his whole family would not be able to escape death. After all, that god, with his own the man who used his power to quell the war in Yuyan village. He killed everything related to the previous leader of Yuyan village, Sancho Hanzo. No matter it was an 80-year-old woman or a swaddled baby waiting to be fed, no one could escape death in his hands. Of course, this is one aspect. The most important thing is his worship of the legendary god. Without the god, the current Yuyan village would most likely still be in civil strife, and it would not be the prosperous scene it is now. If you don't say anything, then I will take some measures. Jiraiya said, taking out a feather. Do you want to say it or not? Jiraiya took off the young ninja's shirt and kept tickling it with feathers. The young ninja laughed until his nose and tears came out, but he still refused to speak. Never say that. Tizuna's husband was afraid that his companion could not bear it, so he kept reminding him. Fang Ye leaned aside lazily and watched the farce. Although he knew the overall story, he couldn't tell it now. If he did, he would definitely it will arouse the suspicion of the thoughtful Jiraiya. In this way, it will be difficult to carry out subsequent actions. Since you won't tell me, I will take some extraordinary measures. Jiraiya crossed his arms and looked at the two of them, and said. I will use my magic to turn you into frogs. The two people listened to Jiraiya's ultimate method without saying a word. The scene is embarrassing. Turn you into frogs, frog. Jiraiya repeated it again, but there was still no reaction from the two of them. Hateful. Jiraiya felt a little embarrassed. He kept itching the young ninja with the feather in his hand. It lasted for a long time, and Jiraiya started to get a little impatient. Become a frog. Jiraiya put his hand on the young ninja's head and activated the ninjutsu. With a bang, the young ninja actually turned into a frog. What? Tizuna's husband looked at the man in horror. Now, it's your turn. Jiraiya stood in front of him and said with a smile. You mean, or turn into a frog? Hateful. Tizuna's husband begins to struggle. In the end, he chose to compromise. I said. He seemed to have made up a lot of determination and began to tell everything he knew. The god is Lord Pain. It is said that he lives in the high tower to the west and is a member of the Wind Demon clan. Seeing him compromising, Jiraiya approached with a yawning smile. His hand floated above Tizuna's husband's head and said. Ah, hey, did you betray him so easily? But, what is said to mean? Tizuna's husband shook his head and continued. I don't know, but my admiration for Lord Pain is unquestionable, because Everything in the village was given by Lord Payne. I don't know whether Lord Payne exists or not. Having said this, Tizuna's husband raised his head and faced Jiraiya. It's true that Lord Angel often appears. Lord Angel. Jiraiya stroked his chin and wrote down this title. There are really many secrets in Yuyan village. Jiraiya asked some more questions, but Tizuna's husband said that he didn't know very well. Instead, Tizuna's husband asked Jiraiya in turn. Are you a remnant of the old Yuyan village? The remnants of the old Yuyan village, what does this mean? You are all foreigners. Tizuna's husband looked at Jiraiya and Fang Ye beside him, and suddenly understood. The remnant party is talking about Sanshou Hanzo's subordinates. Now they have been eliminated by Lord Payne. The civil war is completely over. Lord Payne has solved the old Omegakure village by himself. Jiraiya was stunned. Sanshou Hanzo, this name was all too familiar to him. During the Third Ninja War, he and Tsunade had Orochimaru. The three of them could not defeat Hanzo together. Even the title of Konoha Sunin was given by Hanzo Sancho. Now, the man known as the demigod was solved by Pain alone? Jiraiya asked Tizuna's husband again about the Akatsuki organization. Although he said he didn't know, the wall that trapped him had the function of monitoring his heartbeat. Jiraiya immediately judged that the other party was lying. Mr. Jiraiya, it seems like he can't ask. Fang Ye, who had been silent all this time, spoke. Jiraiya looked at Tetsuna's husband who was clenching his teeth and nodded. Since I can't ask you here, I'll ask Pain myself. As he said that, the wall of flesh on the right began to twist and a hole appeared. Jiraiya and Fang Ye walked out together, leaving this man and a frog behind. On the high tower, after watching Xionan leave, Pain walked to a mysterious room. Leaning back, the whole person was lying in a mysterious device. There are 5 more such mysterious devices in this room. Pain slowly opened his eyes and said coldly. Now, go and eliminate the invaders. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mungbean Garden. Chapter 163. The two came to a corner, and Jiraiya summoned Gao Yin and began to explain. He sealed the transfer technique with his fingerprints, and then handed over the key to seal the 9 tails to Gao Yin. Don't worry, since the 4th generation master did this, there must be a reason for it. Fang Ye on the side said something. Jiraiya nodded, obviously agreeing with this sentence. Seeing that the two of them were in agreement and very firm, it was hard for Toad Yin to say anything else. Jiraiya-sensei, I have a way to enter the West Tower. Oh, Jiraiya looked at Fang Ye who looked serious and said curiously. Tell me the story. I have the clothes of a ninja from Hidden Rain Village, and I was not recognized during this stretch of the road. You can use the Toad Shadow Parallel technique to hide in my shadow and sneak in together. Fang Ye expressed his thoughts one by one. In fact, this was also the method used by Jiraiya in the original plot. Is that so? Jiraiya looked at Fang Ye with warning eyes and said in a deep voice. In this case, if you are discovered, you will be attacked by the enemy immediately. Fang Ye shook his head and said that he was not afraid. Indeed, in this world, there are not many people who can hurt him. Seeing Fang Ye's determination, Jiraiya didn't know what to say. Then be careful. With a reminder, Jiraiya hid in the shadow of Fang Ye who had finished installing the house. Fang Ye raised his head and looked to the west. The tall tower shot straight into the sky, which was very eye-catching. Let's go. Muttering softly, Fang Ye set off. The rain had stopped, and Fang Ye walked on the road very naturally. Occasionally, there were a few people saying hello, but Fang Ye didn't recognize them. He ignored them and continued towards the tower. Move forward. After a while, the two came to the bottom of the tower. I have something to report to Lord Angel. Fanya said in a deep voice to the guard on the side. What's the matter? Is Lord Angel something you can see whenever you want? One person looked cold, and while questioning, he put his hand on the kunao on his waist. I found an intruder. Fanya said loudly. The two of them were stunned after hearing this. Intruders are indeed a serious matter, but how do you make me believe you? One person asked, obviously not wanting to put Fanya in so easily. Fanya looked calm and said word by word. If I lie, Lord Angel will naturally not let me go, but if the opportunity is delayed because of you too. Fanya looked directly into their eyes and said in a deep voice. You should know the consequences, right? This. The two became tense instantly and began to struggle. Not long after, the two of them stepped aside knowingly. You'd better tell the truth, otherwise not only the angel, but also I won't let you go. Me too. The two of them took out the kunao from their waists and shook it. The threat was obvious. Fanya glanced at the two of them lightly and walked straight in. Wow, the stone door opened, and Fanya stepped into an empty room suddenly. Countless pieces of paper appeared in front of the two people, and Fanya was instantly wrapped in them. At the same time, in front of Fanya, countless pieces of paper also condensed together, transforming into the appearance of Xiaonan. Xiaonan held the piece of paper in his hand and made the completed spear stabbed Fanya in the head. Fire escape bullet. Jiraiya, who was hiding in the shadow, jumped out and immediately used ninjutsu to attack Konan. At the same time, Fanya also took action. When he exerted force, the paper covering him was torn apart. The next second, Fanya did not hesitate and punched Xiaonan. Whoops! Xiaonan was beaten into countless pieces of paper, flying backwards. Finally, it condensed again far away from the two of them. It turns out that Lord Angel is Xiaonan. Jiraiya looked at his students with a smile and said in admiration. You have become a nice woman. Jiraiya always thought that Konan died in the war, but he didn't expect that he would now become the spokesperson of God. Jiraiya-sensei, you. Konan also recognized Jiraiya, and then looked at the man who had just punched him hard. Fanya pulled off his mask, revealing his delicate face. An ordinary ninja. Didn't you tell me your name, then go to hell. After that, Xiaonan stopped chatting and flew to a high place. Countless pieces of paper condensed into the shape of wings behind her. Can you definitely become an angel if you have wings? Fanya laughed mercilessly. Without saying a word, Xiaonan directly threw the piece of paper and attacked the two of them. A serious punch. Fanya also didn't hesitate and took action directly. The fierce wind of the fist instantly blew away the piece of paper that was attacking him, and hit Xiaonan hard. Bang! Xiaonan's body made an explosion, and half of his head turned into paper. Peace. If she hadn't reacted quickly, she might have died from this punch now. Xiaonan didn't dare to underestimate the two of them and was ready to hit the piece of paper again. Her mission was to hold the two of them back. As long as she waited until pain came over, she would even if the task is completed. Toad oil bomb. Jiraiya on the side made a seal with his hands, spit out a stream of oil towards Konan, and wrapped it up. You can't turn into paper if it's stained with oil. Jiraiya looked at Konan with a smile, and formed seals with his hands again. The hair behind him instantly stretched and tied up Konan. Don't kill her, I have more questions to ask. Hearing Jiraiya's words, Fanya nodded. Why are you like this now? How are Nagato and Yahiko doing? Who is Pain? Why did you join the Akatsuki organization? Jiraiya stared at Xiaonan and asked all his questions. Xiaonan did not answer, but asked lightly. Do you regret it very much now? It would have been better if you had listened to Orochimaru and killed us, right? Jiraiya shook his head, his expression neither sad nor happy. I don't regret saving you, But I am very sad now. You are my apprentices, I taught you survival skills, but now you attack me without even saying hello. I'm so chilled. Xiaonan was stunned for a moment and continued. Teacher, you don't understand us now at all. I don't know you well. I've heard about your reputation in the past few years, but I soon received news of your death. Moreover, Jiraiya became serious, as if he was teaching a student. Is this the reason why you joined the Akatsuki organization? Xiaonan stopped talking, because Pain had already arrived. At this moment, a man with an orange whip stood behind Xiaonan, looking at the three people. This is the answer we have come up with through constant experiments. You won't understand, Mr. Jiraiya. Fang Ye focused his eyes and looked at that person. Beast Way. Pain. Jiraiya looked at it intently and recognized the Rinnegan at a glance. Is that you, Nagato? You are just an outsider, you don't need to know so much. After saying that, Pain clasped his hands together. Psychic. Dimensional chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mungbean Garden. Chapter 164. Boom. There was a bang, and a giant hell crab was summoned. A large amount of foam spurted out from the hell crab's mouth, and the two of them immediately dodged. Jiraiya used chakra to attach himself to the wall. Fang Ye also jumped high and hit the wall with his right fist. Boom. Fang Ye punched a big hole in the wall. Fang Ye grabbed the broken rock at the entrance and hung it on the wall. Such terrifying strength. Jiraiya looked at Fang Ye's light punch and couldn't help but think of Tsunade. The woman who can destroy a wall with just one punch. And looking at Fang Ye's light expression, Jiraiya even felt that Fang Ye's power was even more powerful. The next second, Xiaonan flew out of the bubble. The oil on her body was washed away by the foam, turned into paper again, and appeared behind possessing the beast way. Kill them. The seals formed by the beast's hands changed, and a huge hell crab jumped out of the foam, waving two huge pincers to attack the two of them. The art of messing up the lion's hair. Jiraiya formed a seal with his hands, and his white hair instantly became extremely long. The next second, the white hair condensed into the shape of a lion's head, trapping the hell crab. Roar. The hell crab struggled violently, trying to break free from Jiraiya's restraints. Drink. Fang Ye, who was clinging to the wall, moved very fast. Bang. Fang Ye didn't save any energy and directly used a serious punch. The casserole-sized fist hit the hell crab, which was very different in size from him, and made a loud bang. Explosion. Boom. The next second, the hell crab's huge body shattered inch by inch under Fang Ye's fist, and instantly turned into meat. What? Zhao Shendao was a little surprised. He didn't expect that his psychic beast would be killed by this unknown ninja with one punch. Jiraiya seized the opportunity and once again used the technique of messing up the lion's hair to entangle Zhu's Hongdao. Nagato, how is Yahiko? The beast was trapped, but he didn't panic at all and replied slowly. There is such a guy, but he is dead. Nagato, you have changed. Jiraiya's body showed murderous intent, he frowned and looked at the beast and said. You used to have to protect your companions, but you have changed beyond recognition, and some of my friends can't help but look after you. I have grown. The beast said, his voice neither sad nor happy, without emotion. There have been many wars here, and countless people have died. I was just a child before, and now I have grown into an adult. Teacher, you are just a mortal, and I have transcended mortals. God. Fang Ye looked at the beast and asked coldly. That's right, I have transformed from a mortal into a god. What do you want to do? Jiraiya couldn't understand and asked the beast. Why do you want to collect tailed beasts and for what purpose? You are all going to die anyway, so there is no harm in telling you, Zushendao said slowly. Using the tailed beast, I can create a forbidden technique that can destroy a country instantly. This will only increase the chaos of war, Jiraiya can't understand. I can provide this forbidden technique to all countries, and everyone will be afraid of war. Only in this way can we put an end to the endless war. Of course, I will show the effect of this forbidden technique. In order for the world to grow, it must undergo infinite pain, and as a god, I will help them grow. After saying that, while Jiraiya was not paying attention, the animal path used the substitute technique to break Jiraiya's restraints. Hateful. Jiraiya looked at the beast standing high up and turned to look at Fang Ye. Little guy, I want to use magic, which requires a certain amount of preparation time. Can you help me? Fang Ye made a no questions asked gesture, and instantly became violent and attacked the beast. What an impatient little guy. Looking at Fang Ye's back, Jiraiya smiled slightly, bit his wrist and smeared blood on his face, clasped his hands together to condense chakra. What a hassle. Looking at Fang Ye's approaching figure, Zhu Shendao moved his left hand, and a huge lizard swallowed him into its belly, and then disappeared. Invisible. Fang Ye stood in one place and looked around. Ouch. The animal path didn't plan to wait for Jiraiya to complete his immortal transformation, and directly summoned a three-headed hell dog. The three-headed dog howled, opened its big mouth and rushed towards Jiraiya. Stop! Fang Ye shouted loudly, kicked his feet on the wall, and shot out. A serious punch. Boom! Fang Ye's fist instantly hit the body of the three-headed hell dog, and a large amount of smoke erupted. It's not solved yet, Jiraiya-sensei, be careful. Fang Ye reminded Jiraiya behind him and stared at the smoke. Jiraiya nodded, his eyes equally solemn. Ouch! 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 Three howls came from the smoke, and the three-headed hell dog split into three-headed dogs, attacking Jiraiya from different directions. Go to hell! Fang Ye punched one of them and blew it up instantly. His speed was extremely fast, and the three-headed dog was knocked away effortlessly. The next second, the three-headed dog actually changed again. 1.2, 2 divided into 4. After a while, all the dogs merged together. Jiraiya looked at this weird psychic beast with serious eyes. The original three-headed hell dog now had 7 or 8 heads on its neck, and it was extremely huge. Is this Ye's dream dog? Fang Ye also noticed it, but he wasn't too worried and even complained. Little one, let's go to a narrow place and have one-on-one time. With that said, Jiraiya jumped away first. Fang Ye followed closely. After a while, the two figures appeared in a small alley. Countless hellhounds followed closely behind, attacking with claws and teeth. Careful! Jiraiya warned, untying the seals on his hands. The two of them punched and kicked, and they destroyed most of the hellhounds in an instant. In this case, I won't make trouble with you. Jiraiya waved his hand and put his other hand on Fang Ye's shoulder. The next second, the two of them disappeared into the small alley. Did you escape? The beast walked out of the lizard's belly, feeling the remaining chakra. How is that possible? You are thinking too much. Fang Ye's voice sounded behind Zhu Shengdao. Zhu Shengdao turned around suddenly and saw Fang Ye looking at him with his arms folded. Quick! With a thought, the lizard was about to swallow the beast into its belly. You underestimate me too. Fang Ye snorted coldly, and the next second, his figure appeared on the back of the huge lizard. A serious punch. Charge your strength. Punch. Fang Ye's punch hit the lizard's head hard, and the lizard exploded. What a terrifying strength. Looking at the smashed lizards and the ruined alley, Jiraiya secretly smacked his lips. Seeing the lizards being blown up, the animal's eyes widened and he activated his psychic technique again. One with a huge mouth, the bird appeared in the sky and attacked Jiraiya's back. Careful! Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mungbean Garden. Chapter 165. Careful. Seeing that Jiraiya didn't notice the danger behind him, Fangya reminded him decisively. What? Jiraiya watched the psychic beast with a ferocious mouth fly straight towards him. He once again planned to let go of the hand he had just closed and give up the immortal transformation for the time being. Just let me come. Behind Jiraiya, Fangya said calmly, and then stepped forward. Looking at Fangya's back, Jiraiya nodded. He closed his hands again and continued to condense chakra. Drink. With a loud shout, Fangya decisively turned on his armed colors. His two arms were entangled and turned into a dark color under his clothes. Immediately afterwards, Fangya jumped into the air. His hands turned into two big palms and illuminated the Yatta bird's head was slapped. Boom. The Yatta bird obviously has human-like wisdom. When Fangya bullied him, he chose to slow down. Fangya's attack instantly hit the Yatta bird with thorns all over it, and on the extremely hard-pointed beak. Huh, your palm has been pierced, let's see how you can still use physical skills. Zhu Shendao snorted coldly, as if he had already seen the blood dripping from his hands. Did not expect. The next second, there was a shattering sound. Click. The Yatta bird closed its sharp beak and let out a painful scream. Its ferocious mouth was full of cracks, and it was actually beaten to pieces by Fangya Shengsheng. In mid-air, Fangya pinched the Yatta bird's beak tightly with his two big hands, preventing it from breaking free. With a strong effort on his waist and legs, he turned over and straddled Yatta bird's back. Boom! Fangya punched out a big hole in Yatta bird's back. Severe pain came from Yatta bird's back, causing him to let out a short and ferocious neigh. Come again. Without giving him time to react, Fangya decisively punched him again. Boom. The entire Yatta bird was shattered by Fangya's powerful punch, and Fangya fell to the ground involuntarily. Careful. As soon as he stood firm, Fangya heard Jiraiya yelling. At the same time, rumbling footsteps sounded behind Fangya, as if a beast was running towards him. He turned around decisively, and what he saw was indeed a huge old cow. Moo. The old cow neighed and bumped into Fangya mercilessly. Bang. Fangya was knocked backwards and knocked deeply into the wall by the old cow. Boom. 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 3 walls collapsed in a row. Wall, the old cow stopped. Are you not being pretended to be smashed now? The beast looked at it intently, and then his face showed a look of horror. What? I saw Fangya still standing upright in the ruins. Looking back at the old cow, the forehead that hit Fangya was already bloody and bloody. The horns were full of cracks, as if they would collapse with the slightest touch. That's it? Fangya said calmly, and kicked out at the same time. Bang. The old cow was kicked to a bloody pulp in an instant. Then the old cow's head was punched by Fangya again, and half of his head was blown off. From the wound the size of a pot lid, red and white substances entangled and flowed out. It was very scary. Amazing, since when did our Konoha village have such a powerful jonin? Jiraiya was condensing chakra while observing the battle here. The overwhelming fighting power shown by Fangya made him gasp in surprise. He quietly weighed it in his heart. It seems that in the entire Konoha village, there are really not many people who can get along with the young man in front of him. Not to mention today's younger generation. Perhaps, after Naruto completes his immortal transformation, he will be able to fight. At the same time, Fangya shook the broken flesh and blood on his body and walked out of the ruins. If there are any other psychic beasts, please call them out. Fangya looked directly at the reincarnation eyes of the animal world, his eyes calm. It really gave me a big surprise. Seeing Fangya destroying 3 of his psychic beasts in a row. The beast was neither sad nor happy, looking at Fangya with an indifferent expression. Then, he made a seal with both hands, and the chameleon trapped by Jiraiya turned into a ball of smoke. The channeling was released. The next second, the animal path summoned it again, and then hiding in the belly of the chameleon again. This operation left Fang Ye speechless. This beast is too afraid of death. Of course, his efforts to conceal his figure had absolutely no effect on Fang Ye. Quietly, Fang Ye activated his power of seeing and hearing. The next second, Fang Ye's 5 senses became extremely clear. In his eyes, every strand of the entire world seemed to be split apart before his eyes. Even the blind spots in sight are extremely clear. At the same time, he can also feel the emotional changes of people nearby. Just like Jiraiya, he was gathering chakra and was in an extremely irritable mood at the moment. As if to say, faster, faster. This is the domineering power of seeing and hearing. Of course, the traces of the animal path cannot escape Fang Ye's perception. At this, suddenly, Fang Ye moved. His eyes suddenly looked at a corner of the alley. Then, with a kick of his feet, he shot out. Substitution. Zushandeo, who had seen Fang Ye's terrifying lethality, didn't dare to be careless when he saw Fang Ye's attack. He completed the substitute technique almost instantly, left a wooden stake on the spot, and moved away from Fang Ye. Boom! Fang Ye's fist was unstoppable, and the wooden stake was as fragile as a piece of paper in front of him. It instantly turned into powder. Even if Fang Ye stopped his hand in time, a big hole would inevitably appear in the wall in front of him. Hiss! Zhu Shendao stood high up and looked at Fang Ye, who was shaking the wall with just the force of his fists, and couldn't help but take a breath. He looked down at Fang Ye, his eyes gradually becoming solemn. The two looked at each other for a while, then the beast's eyes turned to the corner again. That's Jiraiya's position. Little Jiraiya, why do you always summon us to such noisy places? In the corner, 2 voices, a man and a woman, came from. Alas, I don't want to either. After all, the other party has the samsara eye. Jiraiya walked out from the corner, and the clogs on his feet made a crisp sound on the floor. The Eye of 6 Paths. The female frog on Jiraiya's left shoulder was a little surprised. Does such a thing really exist? The frog with a hair on his right shoulder that reached to his chest looked at Jiraiya in surprise as well. Uh-huh. Jiraiya nodded and walked up to the two of them, attracting their attention. The bloodlines on Jiraiya's face became deeper. His pupils became flat and his eyes became extremely bright. What power is this? Beast Dao began to ponder. He had never seen such power before. Fang Ye was not surprised. This was not the first time he had seen Jiraiya in such a state. The 2 toads on Jiraiya's shoulders looked at them equally curiously. Human. Finally, his eyes were fixed on the beast. It is indeed the reincarnation eye. Shima the female toad nodded and began to make seals with her 2 front paws. On the other side, the male toad stared at the beast, looking a little excited. It's really hard to wait. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mungbean Garden. Chapter 166. Jiraiya completed his immortal transformation. Fang Ye nodded, he could feel it. Jiraiya's aura has undergone earth-shaking changes, he is completely different. If Jiraiya's strength was 1 before, then his current strength may be stronger than 2. The beast standing high up also felt something was wrong. Jiraiya-sensei must not be as simple as channeling 2 toads. Looking at the current situation, Shima looked at Jiraiya with some confusion. Why do you want to fight him? Because he was once my disciple, Jiraiya answered truthfully. Fukazaku's face on Jiraiya's right shoulder changed greatly, child of prophecy. It knew what Toad Sage predicted. Seeing Jiraiya nodding, Fukazaku looked at the beast standing high up and said in a deep voice. It seems that he has not taken the right path, then deal with him here. Shima took action decisively. His mouth opened, and there seemed to be another mouth on the long tongue, and a large amount of flames spurted out in an instant. The animal path once again used the psychic technique, and a huge bear appeared in front of him, blocking the raging flames. Fukazaku was not idle either and decisively started the couple's mixed doubles match. Water cut. Fukazaku sprayed out a high-pressure water gun from his mouth and instantly cut the burning bear in half. Looking at the bear that was split into two halves, Zushendeo clasped his hands together again. Spiritualism. With a bang, Zushendeo's whole person was shrouded in smoke. The next second, two figures appeared next to him. What? Jiraiya looked up at the two similar figures and didn't know what happened for a moment. It seems that this was also summoned by Pain's necromancy, and Fangye frowned and told Jiraiya the known information. These two people also have the Eye of Reincarnation. What? Jiraiya was shocked and looked up. Sure enough, the pupils of the two people summoned by the beast path were lavender like him. And there were countless black circles shrouding them, giving people a dizzy feeling at first glance. No matter who you are, as long as you want to destroy the world, I will destroy you. Jiraiya put on a fighting stance, not timid at all. Fangye stood aside and looked at the two figures standing next to the beast. He immediately understood their identities. Hungry Ghost Path, there is also the human world. Fangye murmured in a low voice, and the skills of the two people gradually emerged in his mind. One is good at reading memories and is responsible for intelligence, while the other can absorb chakra and is the strongest defense among Pain's six paths. Fangye secretly confirmed the skills of the two in his heart. But in order to avoid unnecessary trouble, he did not tell Jiraiya. Jiraiya-sensei, although I don't know what their effect is, just don't get close to them. Fangye turned his head to look at Jiraiya, who had transformed into an immortal, and reminded him loudly. Jiraiya nodded. Little Jiraiya, what is this? Looking at Fangye standing aside, Saitama asked curiously. Also a ninja of Konoha, my partner. So that's it? Fukazaku nodded and looked at the three people in the distance. Then I will appear. Jiraiya suddenly waved his hands and jumped back and forth on one foot. Now we start to use senjutsu instead of ninjutsu. With the sky cover behind us and looking up, Jiraiya is a hero. Boom. Jiraiya's voice stopped suddenly, and the fists of Fukazaku Shima and his wife hit him in the face. Don't scream in our ears. This appearance was interrupted mercilessly again. Jiraiya wanted to cry but had no tears left. Fangye was also speechless. Fangye wanted to suggest to him that he could perform at the Little Demon Fairy Theater next door, where no one would interrupt his performance. Sudden. Among the three, Human World suddenly took action. He was extremely fast and reached out to slap Fangye on the head. Get out of here. Fangye shouted low, raised his foot and kicked Renjiandeo in the face. Bang. Renjiandeo was kicked far away, and hit a wall directly like a cannonball. He lay down on the ruins in the middle, both eyes were kicked out by Fangye. In this case, let's do it. Jiraiya roared boldly and activated his magic. Senfugomen. The next second, Jiraiya, together with Fukazaku Shima and his wife, activated a composite skill. Fukazaku Sage sprayed out wind escape from his mouth, and Shima Senin used fire escape. Coupled with the oil sprayed from Jiraiya's mouth, they instantly entangled themselves and transformed into the raging fire wrapped around the three of them. This move is similar to the Toad Oil Fire Bomb, but the power is a level higher. Facing the rolling flames, Pain did not panic at all. Hungry Ghost Road jumped to the front and took action directly. In an instant, in a short time, all the ninjutsu was absorbed into it. Didn't it cause any harm? Jiraiya was stunned. He couldn't imagine what kind of technique the other party used. "Mr. Jiraiya, try using close combat," Fangya reminded again. "The hungry ghost path can absorb all chakra, and ninjutsu cannot cause any harm to them." Jiraiya took off his clogs, and a huge blue chakra energy ball instantly formed in his hand. Super large jade spiral pill. The next second, several human-sized raisins were also absorbed. At the same time, Fangya was not idle either. He appeared on the side of Hungry Ghost Road and punched him in the head. Suddenly, Hungry Ghost Road, his body was in a weird posture, barely able to avoid Fangya's punch. Jiraiya also reacted and crawled on the ground on all fours. Thousands of immortal techniques and hair needles. Countless white needles shot out from his white hair, shooting at the human being who was about to attack Fangya with an overwhelming force. Weird things happened again. The human being didn't even open his eyes and felt the attack from Jiraiya. Approaching. Spiritualism. Human Deo pinched his hands, and a panda appeared behind him. The panda was huge and completely covered Human Deo. All the thousands of hair needles that were supposed to be hit on Human Deo were inserted into the panda. The attack came again. Invalid. Jiraiya jumped up and came to Fangya's side. "This is unscientific. How did that person avoid my attack, not to mention that he didn't turn around and couldn't even open his eyes? It seems that this is not a simple clone." Fukazaku on the side looked solemn and said calmly. "Our attacks just now were all launched from blind spots, but the opponent seemed to have a second pair of eyes and defused our attacks one by one. Is it because of those eyes?" Fangya felt that the time had come and spoke decisively. He pointed to the beast standing high up. "When we started just now, the man didn't move and kept looking at us from a high place." Jiraiya looked in the direction Fangya pointed, with a look of thinking on his face. Suddenly, he clapped his hands and suddenly realized. "I know, it must be because of their eyes. Dimensional chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest." Author, Mungbean Garden. Chapter 167. It must be because of those eyes. Shima, who had been silent all this time, suddenly spoke up and looked at the two of them solemnly. "All three of them have the samsara eye, so are they sharing vision through the samsara eye?" Fangya was on the side, listening to Shima's words, and nodded slightly. As expected of a well-informed toad, he guessed it so quickly. In this way, a lot of trouble will naturally be reduced. Thus, it's a bit tricky. Jiraiya frowned slightly. Although they have guessed some clues, they still know very little about the other party's abilities. Without knowing the other party's abilities, even in immortal mode you will be killed. Or, do we retreat? Fukazaku suggested. Among the few people, he is the most cautious. No need. Shima shook his head. Although there are 3 people on the other side, in general, we have an advantage with 4 people on our side. Speaking, Shima glanced at Fangya who was standing aside. Jiraiya nodded and looked at Fangya as well. "I will try to contain those 2 people while you attack them," Jiraiya said, glancing at Zhu Shengdao who was standing high up. He wanted Fangya to contain Zhu Shengdao and deal with the other 2 people by himself. Let the other 3 people be busy and naturally have no time to take care of others. In this way, if so, even if the other party has the advantage of sharing vision, it will be greatly restricted. Fangya nodded, agreeing with this plan. The next second, the 2 of them took the initiative to attack. Fangya's whole body shot out, like a cannonball going straight to the beast's path. A serious punch. Fangya was merciless, and he used his ultimate move when he saw him. The right fist that had been accumulating on his waist for a long time was instantly launched, with a terrifying fist wind, directly attacking the animal path. Spiritualism. Beast Deo clasped his hands together and quickly made a seal. A panda made of stone appeared in front of him. Before, he also used this move to resist Jiraiya's hair needle senbon and successfully escaped without any damage. Little trick. Fang Ye shouted coldly, and the speed of the fist in his hand did not decrease, or even became stronger. Bang! The casserole-sized fist suddenly hit the stone panda, causing a deafening explosion. The stone panda's already injured body was instantly covered with cracks. The next second, the stone panda exploded instantly, and countless stones flew out in all directions. Zhu Shendao watched his psychic beast being blown up, without feeling any surprise. He jumped back again, trying to distance himself. Where to run? Looking at the figure of the animal path gradually retreating, Fang Ye took action again. He shot out again and rushed towards the animal path at an extremely fast speed. The distance between the two people was shortening at a speed visible to the naked eye, and they were about to collide. Fang Ye retracted his right fist to his waist and gathered strength again. Feel the pain. Muttered softly, the beast's voice was emotionless, as if he was snatching life and death. The next moment, a 2-finger-thick black rod shot out of his sleeves and shot toward Fang Ye. Fang Ye's pupils shrank suddenly, and he looked at this black stick left a very deep impression. In the plot of Naruto World, the protagonist Naruto was pierced by this black stick in his limbs and lay on the ground unable to move. Then Hinata was beaten. Of course, this is all for later. Fang Ye subconsciously activated his arm domineering energy and crossed his arms in front of him to resist the attack from the beast. Sonorous. The black rod hit Fang Ye's arm, which was wrapped in arm domineering force, and made a crisp sound. Fang Ye felt a pain in his arm. It was obvious that the attack power of this black stick was not small. But luckily, it was just a slight sting and no piercing of the skin. When the two collided, the tip of the black rod seemed to crack, and some black scum fell. The animal Taoist waved his sleeves and took back the black stick. He brought the tip close to his eyes and took a look. Sure enough, the tip was broken and the sharp place had been smoothed away. What a strong attack power! The animal path was more cautious. At the same time, he noticed that in the distance, the hungry ghost path and the human path were fighting together. For a while, the winner could not be determined. Solve one first. Muttering softly, the beast's figure flashed quickly, trying to bypass Fang Ye and surround Jiraiya. Did I let you pass? Fang Ye waited until the beast appeared in front of him and took action directly. A serious punch. Fang Ye's punch was merciless, and he finally waited for a chance to get close. He wanted a killing blow. Zushindao's pupils shrank suddenly, and at the same time, his hands were wrapped with black sticks and crossed in front of his eyes. Obviously he was prepared. Fang Ye would be armed. The collar was wrapped around the arm, showing a dark light. The punch came out with a bang, without mercy. Boom! The dark fist collided with the black rod of the beast, making a violent explosion. The seemingly softer fist actually he didn't fall behind in front of the black stick. Click! A crisp cracking sound came out, which sounded extremely pleasant to Fang Ye's ears. Break it for me! With a loud roar, the power of Fang Ye's right fist strengthened again. Click! The cracking sound kept coming, and the black stick continued to crack under Fang Ye's fist. In the end, it was full of cracks. Fang Ye's fist used force again, and the black stick continued to crack. The whole thing collapsed. Boom! Fang Ye's serious punch. A lot of momentum had been consumed by the collision with the black stick, and with the remaining strength, he hit the animal path. Bang! Fang Ye's fist hit the animal path. He let out a dream. Obviously, the previous operation of Zhu Shendao was very important, otherwise he would be broken into pieces now. Zhu Shendao was hit hard and hit the wall instantly. Bang! 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 Several walls were smashed in his face. Zhu Shendao, the body just stopped. Not good. Human Deo, who was fighting Jiraiya, sensed something was wrong and immediately broke away from the battle, wanting to support the Beast Deo. Don't even think about leaving. Leia decisively wanted to stop him, put his hands on the ground, and activated the magic. Immortal magic, thousands of hair needles. Countless hairs wrapped in chakra appeared like needles and rushed towards human world Deo's back, trying to pin him to the ground. Naturally, the hungry ghost Deo on the side would not stand idly by and silently teleported to human world Deo's side. He opened a field with both hands and began to absorb Jiraiya's senjutsu. In an instant, all the chakra used by the hair needle Senbon was absorbed. The needle-like hair lost the support of chakra and fell softly to the ground. Since Leia was already familiar with their tactics, so how could he make useless efforts? He pushed his limbs hard on the ground and flew out like a frog. The next second, he appeared above the human road and kicked hard. Boom! The human world was hit hard by this kick. You cannot leave this area without my permission. Jiraiya was so arrogant that all his strength exploded, like a god of death holding two people between his palms. Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mungbean Garden. Chapter 168. The animal path stood out from the ruins. Seeing the two of them being entangled by Jiraiya, he felt a little powerless against Fang Ye. Zhu Shendao decisively clasped his hands together and then pressed them heavily on the ground. Boom! As a puff of smoke appeared, the two people entangled by Jiraiya disappeared instantly. What? Jiraiya was shocked. He looked around and couldn't find the two of them at all. It disappeared. Fukazaku was equally surprised. Facing the disappearing opponent, it was obvious that our side was once again passive. Look over there. Saitama stretched out his front palm and pointed into the distance, where Fang Ye was. It turned out to be over there. What? Did that young man actually push Nagato to this point? Shenzo was shocked. He didn't expect that young man who said very little to have such strength. The beast they regarded as Nagato was actually in danger of death when facing Fang Ye. Summon those two people over and deal with Fang Ye together. On the other side, Fang Ye was about to take action to kill Zhu Shendao. However, after seeing Zhu Shendao, two people appeared in his sight. Did you come together? Fang Ye was not timid and faced the three of them head-on. The next second, the three of them moved out together with fierce attacks, trying to strangle Fang Ye directly. The armed color was domineering. Fang Ye decisively wrapped the armed color all over his body. The three of them, needless to say, they are one body and have a tacit understanding. Fang Ye must take precautions. If he is injured by one of them, he will definitely face the violent attacks of three people. Human Deo takes action. It's the same move. He stretches out his palm and directly bent Fang Ye's head. Little trick. Fang Ye shouted low and punched Renjian Deo's palm. Spiritualism. The beast will naturally not be idle. He pressed his hands on the ground and a rhinoceros appeared in front of Fang Ye. The rhinoceros was huge and fearless and rammed into Fang Ye with its horns. Boom! Fang Ye's fist hit the rhinoceros. There was a huge sound on the horn. Kaka, the rhinoceros horn collided with Fang Ye's fist, making a heartbreaking cracking sound. Boom! The hardest rhino horn in the rhino's body shattered under Fang Ye's fist. The remaining rhinoceros body couldn't withstand the remaining power of Fang Ye's fist. Poof! The rhinoceros body exploded with a sound, turning into an endless rain of blood and falling down. Fang Ye was not timid and retracted his fist calmly. Suddenly, Fang Ye's eyelids twitched, and his crisis sensor was triggered. In the rain of blood, human world Deo came out of it, and his palm went straight to Fang Ye's head. Fang Ye quickly turned his head, human world Deo's blow missed and pressed on Fang Ye's shoulder. One of the most important abilities of human world Deo is to extract the soul of the enemy. However, This move has a fixed condition, which is that the hand must be pressed on the opponent's head. Now, human world Dao's missed shot will naturally have little effect. None of them worked. Fang Ye naturally would not miss this opportunity, and punched out with his right fist. Boom! The punch came so fast that Renjian Dao had no time to react. The dark fist hit Renjian Dao's shoulder, and he was half killed instantly. The whole body was shattered. Only half of the body was left, and it was obvious that there was no way to survive in the world. The only remaining foot could not support the rest of the body and fell to the side. Boy, let me help you. Jiraiya appeared next to Fang Ye, casting magic instantly. Immortal Method Super Large Jade Spiral Pill. A huge blue chakra ball appeared in the palm of his hand, and he pressed it hard towards the incoming hungry ghost path. Unsurprisingly, the super large jade Raisnon was absorbed by the hungry ghost path. Then the opponent flew towards the back. Obviously he was afraid of Fang Ye's fist. He looked at human world Dao, who fell in front of him with only half of his body left. Fang Ye showed no mercy and kicked the remaining half of human world Dao's head. Click. Human world Dao was dead. How could his head withstand Fang Ye's big feet? In an instant, human world's head shattered under Fang Ye's feet. White and red things, wrapped in what looked like components, splashed all over the floor. Human world Tao, die. Sharp. Jiraiya couldn't help but give Fang Ye a thumbs up. Fortunately, they seemed to have little resistance to physical arts. Fang Ye waved his hand modestly and found an excuse. At the same time, he pointed at the two people in front of him with serious eyes. Jiraiya-sensei, there are two more, one for each. Fang Ye's voice was extremely relaxed, as if the two of them were already in their possession. Okay, I choose this. Jiraiya was very relaxed and pointed at the beast he regarded as Nagato. Then I'll take this. Fang Ye looked at the hungry ghost on one side and said. You, too, underestimate God. The beast said, looking at the two of them with extremely cold eyes. The next second, another figure appeared among the four of them. Yahiko. Looking at the young man wearing Akatsuki clothes in front of him, Jiraiya instantly recognized his identity. The young man who fell from the sky in front of him. He is a student of Jiraiya, a classmate of Nagato and Konan. Yahiko. He has no last name because he is an orphan. Yahiko looked at the two people with cold eyes and said. Teacher Jiraiya, long time no see. Nagato said, you are already dead. Jilla was neither sad nor happy and asked. Indeed, I died and felt pain that none of you have ever felt, so I became a god. Listening to Yahiko's words, Jiraiya shook his head. He was babbling and couldn't understand. Have you joined Akatsuki too? Jiraiya looked at the robe with the Tenjin logo on him, and looked at the two people behind him who nodded and lowered their eyebrows. Or are you the legendary Pain? Yes and no. Yahiko stood still on the ground and explained. I am Pain and they are Pain. He pointed at the two people behind him, as well as the human being whose head was crushed by Fang Ye's step. Jiraiya couldn't understand it anymore and was a little confused. Besides, I am no longer Yahiko, you can call me, God's Way. Then, he began to introduce other people. They were the animal realm, the hungry ghost realm, and the human realm who died at Fang Ye's feet. Teacher Jiraiya. Before Jiraiya could react, Yahiko spoke again. You don't need to know too much, you're going to be a dead body right now. After saying that, Yahiko looked at Fang Ye who was standing next to Jiraiya and said softly. I will leave you a whole body. Arrogant. Fang Ye sneered and looked at Yahiko who called himself Tiandeo with disdain. Do you think you can stop the two of us when you come? Jiraiya asked. He knew Yahiko's strength. It was said that one Yahiko, even if there were 2 or 3 more, would not be enough. Maybe I couldn't do it before, but now, I am the way of heaven. After saying that, Yahiko's figure actually flew up. He stretched out his left hand forward, looked at the two people with cold eyes, and said word by word. Feel the pain, think about the pain, accept the pain, understand the pain. Those who do not understand pain cannot understand true peace. I will never forget Yahiko's pain. At the end of the sentence, Yahiko's voice became extremely quiet. Next, his voice was loud again, as if he was announcing the death penalty for Jiraiya and Fang Ye. From now on, let the world feel pain. Shinra Tianzheng. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mungbean Garden. Chapter 169. Yahiko's body was suspended in mid-air. As he finished speaking, his hands stretched out to both sides. The next second, there was an invisible energy centered on Yahiko and spreading to all directions. What? Jiraiya felt the huge energy in front of him and opened his mouth unconsciously. What kind of technique is this? Fukazaku was equally surprised. The ability shown by Yahiko was so weird that even the three of them had no clue. Fang Ye was very familiar with Yahiko's technique. In the original plot, Yahiko used this technique. He had Kakashi and others in hand. In the end, he used the advanced version of the Shinra Tensei to level the Konoha village. Likewise, this is one of the abilities of the Samsara Eye. It is also the main method of Tendo Yahiko. No matter what it is, just run, and that's it. Fang Ye shouted low, turned around and ran with Jiraiya. Boom. Behind him, the energy spread by Shinra Tenzin continued to expand. The walls closest to him were like a piece of tofu. In that weird energy it immediately shattered into pieces. Shinra Tenzin's energy continued to spread, chasing after Fang Ye and Jiraiya. What a weird attack method, this is the first time I've seen such a move. Jiraiya followed Fang Ye with a very solemn tone. Indeed, I wonder if the Toad Immortal has any clue. Fukazaku squatted on Jiraiya's shoulders and said thoughtfully. Shima is also a little confused. So far, the appearances of these pain are a bit strange. Is this his special ability? Shima pondered and expressed all his thoughts. Although they can share vision, their functions are different. The tall and lanky one has not yet shown his abilities. As for the person we regard as Nagato, he is different as soon as he comes up. Of course, we don't rule out the possibility that he has a trump card. That seems to be the case. Fukazaku nodded, and continued Shima's words. The fatter one has been absorbing little Jiraiya's chakra attacks. It seems that no action was taken. Fang Ye didn't say anything and just ran ahead. He was very happy that the three of them had guessed the real situation. This was beyond his expectation. Of course, this also saved a lot of trouble. The three of them were extremely fast, and they were far away from where they were fighting in an instant. The energy emitted by Yahiko's Shinra Tenzen was also consumed. And the speed of diffusion was getting slower and slower, and they were left far behind by the three of them. Behind. Finally got rid of it. Jiraiya wiped his forehead and looked at the ruined buildings behind him. It looks very lethal. If such a large-scale killer weapon were placed among a crowd, it would definitely be no less powerful than a nuclear bomb. Jiraiya thought, and at the same time turned to look at Fang Ye. Little one, do you understand what I just said? What? Fang Ye was stunned and looked at Jiraiya. You go back first and tell Tsunade this information so that they can analyze it as soon as possible. Jiraiya's eyes gradually became serious, and then he said seriously. I have a feeling they are going to do something soon. Fang Ye instantly understood that Jiraiya was going to sacrifice himself. He shook his head and decisively denied it. He came here this time just to save Jiraiya. Otherwise, he could still complete the mission by staying in Konoha Hidden Village. Listen, This information is very important. If Tsunade and the others don't know the news right away, they won't know it until we die here. Jiraiya's eyes dimmed for a moment, and then he continued. The next step is to go to the Hidden Leaf village and massacre. Mr. Jiraiya, you are worrying too much. Fanya listened to Jiraiya's words and was unmoved. He shook his head and looked at Jiraiya seriously. Jiraiya was interrupted and froze for a moment, his eyes even more anxious. Fanya slapped gesture, and then said slowly. First of all, what we just saw is definitely not all of their capabilities, maybe just the tip of the iceberg. After hearing this, Jiraiya's excited eyes calmed down and he nodded hesitantly. Secondly, at first, we thought there was only one person on the other side, then 3 appeared, and now there are 4. Fang Ye clasped his fingers and said seriously. No one can guarantee that the other party's total number is now. If I go back and 2 more people show up from the other party, wouldn't it put you in great danger? In this case, I have not obtained all the information. Maybe the Hokage will make a wrong judgment because of this. Fang Ye's eyes gradually became serious, and he even frowned when he said the last word. His micro-expression was naturally noticed by Jiraiya, and a wave of waves arose in his heart. Moreover, Fang Ye continued. Thinking about the powerful and extremely lethal skill just now, it should consume a huge amount of chakra. In this case, he cannot use it frequently, and there will definitely be an opportunity to take advantage of it. Fang Ye's eyes were extremely firm. Good, all right. Jiraiya nodded, he was convinced by Fang Ye. Unexpectedly, little Jiraiya was directly convinced by you. Young man, I am optimistic about you. Fukazaku obviously admired Fang Ye and winked at him. Shima also looked at Fang Ye deeply, his eyes were quite appreciative. Young man, come to my house for dinner when you get back. Little Jiraiya, you have to come too. Hearing this, Jiraiya felt like a bitter gourd. He still remembered Shima's old lady's craftsmanship, the bowl of worms covered in sauce and still wriggling. Let him never forget it. Haha, let's solve the problem in front of us first. Jiraiya laughed, then turned back. Sure enough, headed by Antondu Yahiko, followed by 3 people, they were flying at high speed, heading straight towards the 2 of them. Where to go? With a soft drink, Pain Tiandeo stretched out his right hand and pointed it at Fang Ye. All things are attracted by heaven. The next second, Fang Ye's whole body seemed to be attracted by a great attraction. The whole person rose into the air and involuntarily headed towards Pain Tiandeo's palm. Brat! Jiraiya looked anxious and quickly made seals with his hands. A battle of words. Fukazaku's tongue came out long, filled with chakra. His tongue was like a steel knife, shooting towards Pain quickly, trying to do it before he caught Fang Ye. Suddenly, Hungry Ghost Road's plump body appeared in front of Jiraiya. He held up the barrier in his hand, firmly caught Fukazaku's tongue, and sucked all the chakra out of it. Thousands of immortal techniques and hair needles. Jiraiya used his magic again. As expected, all the chakra in every hair was sucked out by the hungry ghost path. However, Fukazaku also retracted his tongue to avoid danger. On the other side, Fang Ye flew towards Pain Tiandeo at an extremely fast speed. Die! A black metal rod stabbed out of Pain's palm, piercing Fang Ye with a cold light. Dimensional chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mungbean Garden. Chapter 170. Facing Pain's attack, Fang Ye remained calm and collected. When entering Pain's attack range, strike decisively. Fang Ye's hands were wrapped in armed color and became extremely hard. He first stretched out his left hand and held the black metal rod pierced from the palm of Pain's hand. At the same time, the right fist slams forward. Boom! Fang Ye didn't have any strength left in this punch, and hit Pain Tiandeo hard. If Pain Tiandeo is killed here, the high-level mission will be completed quickly. However, things are not as simple as Fang Ye thought. I saw a figure rushing out from the side, holding a black stick in his hand and about to stab Fang Ye's waist. His waist was not wrapped in armed colors, so he dodged decisively. The trend of this punch also changed accordingly, grazing Pain Tiandao's head. The remaining boxing style gave Pain Tiandao a haircut with a wash and a blowout. Fang Ye escaped the sneak attack. Taking a closer look, it is the way of the beast. Still playing dirty. Fang Ye said nothing and attacked again. But this time the target was Human Dao. A serious punch. Fang Ye put his fist back to his waist and was accumulating strength. Suddenly, another figure attacked. "I've been waiting for you." Fang Ye turned around decisively, and it was Pain Tiandao who came. His reaction speed was also very fast. When he saw that Fang Ye had discovered him, and charged up a blow to hit him, he realized that his attack must have no effect. So he crossed two black metal rods in front of him to resist Fang Ye's attack. Boom! The casserole-sized fist collided with the black metal rod, and a violent sound broke out. Fang Ye's punch has been charged. For a long time, even if it is hit on the black stick, the inner energy in it is not something that Pain Tiandao can resist. Puff! Pain Tiandao felt as if his internal organs had been punched hard, and he was trembling with pain. Fang Ye's punch force penetrated Pain Tiandao's body and hit the wall behind him heavily. Boom! A shallow fist mark instantly appeared on the wall. They were still fighting in the alley, and Fang Ye's fist mark was clearly imprinted on the load-bearing wall. Pain Tiandao vomited a mouthful of blood, and his whole body changed from he fell in mid-air. All his internal organs were broken, and his samsara eyes gradually dimmed. He was hanging with just one breath, and he was about to die. Spiritualism. The Beast Dao saw their main force, Pain Tiandao, was killed. He quickly formed a seal, and then pressed it on the ground. In an instant, the other two of Pain's six paths were also summoned. They were the Azura Dao and the Hell Dao. As soon as he appeared, the Hell Dao pressed his hand on the ground. The next second, a huge head with samsara eyes appeared behind him. Hell King. Fang Ye looked at the terrifying big face in the distance, and the thoughts gradually emerged in his mind. His function. This is the psychic beast of the Hell realm. Not only does the opponent also have the reincarnation eye, but it is also an important source of all the abilities of the Hell realm. The next second, the Hell King opened his mouth, and the purple tongue split into two parts, flying in two different directions. Like an octopus, as soon as the tongue came into contact with Pain Tiandao, it wrapped it up and rolled it into his mouth. On the other side, the long purple tongue also rolled back the broken body of Human Dao, stuffing it in the entrance. What's the situation? Is this fratricide? Jiraiya looked at this strange scene and was a little surprised. Countless guesses came to mind. Could it be that eating other people's corpses can make the remaining people stronger? Uncertain. Fukazaku shook his head aside. If that's the case, it's still a bit tasteless. That's right. Shima nodded, agreeing with Fukazaku's statement. In this way, his ability to keep his teammates alive is almost zero, which is so embarrassing. No matter what it is, destroy it with one punch. Fang Ye struck decisively, picked up a stone from the ground and threw it towards the big face. Click. Zushindao blocked it and looked at Fang Ye with cold eyes. They still did not choose to take the initiative, as if they were waiting for the Hell King behind them. The rejection was completed. Jiraiya also used ninjutsu, but as before, they were all absorbed by the hungry ghost path. After a while, the Hell King behind a few people finished chewing. He opened his mouth and spit out the two figures. Came out. It was Human World Dao and Pain Tiandao who had been sentenced to death. Especially Human World Dao, whose half-destroyed body had grown back together with his head. At this moment, 6 people stood together, watching the two men eagerly. People. What's the situation? Resurrected. Jiraiya looked at the scene in front of him in surprise, his face full of disbelief. It seems so. Fanya nodded and calmly looked at everything that happened in front of him. Suddenly, one of Pain's six paths, Shuradeo, suddenly took action. He saw his whole body suspended in the air, and his body began to change. His feet sprayed flames, and his body was covered with the blade was full, and it shot toward Jiraiya like a bullet. And there I am. Fanya's speed exploded, and he appeared above the Shuradeo like a flash. Immediately afterwards. One kick. Fanya hit hard, knocking out all the parts on Shuradeo. Ken. Shuradeo, who had a big hole in his body, was lying on the ground, his right hand stretched out feebly. Click. The right hand suddenly made a strange sound and instantly turned into a missile, shooting towards Fanya. It's useless. Fanya's whole body was wrapped in armed colors, and he gently patted the side of the missile with his right hand, knocking it back. Boom. The missile hit the remaining body of Shuradeo, and the remaining body was even more badly damaged. He was already dead. He died again. The rest of the people would not be idle, and they all rushed towards Fanya at once. Old lady, cut off their shared vision, or the little guy will be doomed. Fukazaku shouted, and at the same time spit out a water knife, but it was absorbed by the hungry ghost path. Good. Shima nodded, kicked off his legs and jumped high into the air. The next second, thick smoke spurted out from its mouth, covering the entire scene without any doubt. Immortal method wind escapes sand. In an instant, Ludeo's sight was indeed blocked by sand and dust, and everyone was separated. Grandma Shima, thank you very much. Fanya cheered in the sand, his figure rioted, and while searching for the location of others, the sand was swept up into the sky. Found it? With a low shout, Fanya saw an orange-haired man in front of him. Fanya did not hesitate, seized the opportunity and began to beat the opponent violently. Boom. Fanya punched out, but the opponent failed to block it, and one arm was broken. No one interference, Fanya felt extremely comfortable, punching the enemy on the opposite side one after another. Boom. 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 In the wind and sand, the sound of explosions could not be heard. This guy, are you crazy about killing? Jiraiya looked at the wind and sand in the distance, and suddenly he didn't dare to go in. If the boy didn't see clearly, he thought he was an enemy. Tisk tisk tisk. The consequences are disastrous.